Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Nabia Mudassir. Today we will start chemistry in English language. So the first lecture is about chemical reactions. In this video we will understand that what is a chemical reaction and what are the main types of chemical reactions. First of all, come to the chemical reaction. First we will know that what is a chemical reaction. We can say that chemical reaction is a process in which two or more substances are converted to two or more different substances. The substances that are going to convert are called the reactants, and the substances that come after the conversions are called the product. It means that we have two main things, two main substances in a chemical reaction. The first one is the reactants, the substance that are going to react with each other. And the second one is the product that come after the reaction of the reactants. That comes after the reaction of the reactants. So we can say that a chemical reaction is a process in which the reactants converts or are going to convert to the product. The process in which the reactants are converted to the product is called chemical reaction. This is a process in which two or more substances convert themselves by reaction to the new substance, and the new substance are called the product. According to the type of reactants and according to the types of product, that which kind of product comes after the reaction of the reactants or the conversion of the reactants. According to this, we have several types of chemical reactions. We have several types of chemical reaction. From those types of chemical reaction, we are going to discuss on just the main chemical reactions, or just main types of chemical reactions. So if we come to the types of chemical reactions, we can say that we have four main types of chemical reactions. The first one is synthesis or combination reaction. The second one is decomposition. The third one is combustion. And the fourth one is displacement or replacement reaction. This displacement reaction takes place in two ways. The first one is single replacement reaction and the second one is double replacement reaction. First, we will discuss on the synthesis or combination reaction. We will know that what is a synthesis or combination reaction. If we come to the combination reaction or the synthesis reaction, we can say that in this reaction, a compound is made from simpler materials. It means that when two simple materials reacts with each other and gives us a complex product, or we can say a complex compound. So the process in which two simple substance or two simple materials are converted to a complex compound or a complex substance, the process is called the synthesis reaction or the combination reaction. For example, let's have an example of it. Here, for example, we have two molecular hydrogens. Two molecular hydrogens reacts with one molecular oxygen. While these two molecular hydrogen reacts with oxygen, so it gives us a compound. It gives us a compound by the name of water. While these two reacts with each other, so it gives us two molecules of water. It gives us what? Two molecules of water. While two molecular hydrogen reacts with one molecular oxygen, so it gives us two molecules of water. Now here, focus on the reaction. Here, this part of the reaction, this part of the equation, this part of the materials are called the reactants. These are the materials which are converted during the reaction to the new substance, which are called the product. It means that this part of the equation is called the product, and this part of the equation is called the reactants. Right? Here, now look at the reaction. In this reaction, two simple materials reacts with each other and gives us a more complex compound. This compound looks more complex than the reactants. So this reaction is called synthesis reaction or combination reaction. Let's have another example of it. For example, we have Another example of it, for example, we have sodium. Sodium reacts with chlorine or molecular chlorine. So, while these two simple materials react with each other, it gives us a more complex compound than the first materials, which is called sodium chloride. It gives us sodium chloride in solid state, right? Now focus on the reactants. In reactants, we have two simple materials. We can have two simple elements, we can have molecules, and we can have, for example, two simple compounds. While they react with each other and gives us a more complex compound than the first materials, this reaction is called the synthesis or the combination reaction. We can have a formula for it. For example, a substance or a element or a molecule or a compound reacts with B compound or B molecule or B, for example, element, so it gives us the AB compound. This can be a formula for the synthesis reaction or the combination reaction. Come to the second type of the reaction. The second type of the reaction is decomposition reaction. Come to the second one. What is a decomposition reaction? And how can we define a decomposition reaction? If we come to the decomposition reaction, we can say that in decomposition reaction, a compound is broken down. The most important thing in this is that in a decomposition reaction, a compound is broken down into simple compounds. A compound is broken down into simple compounds. It means that 2 or 3 compounds, or more than that, or all the way down to the elements that make it up. It means that if a complex compound is decomposing, so it can give us 2 or more simple compounds. Or if a simple compound is going to decompose, so it gives us the elements that made it up. For example, let's have an example of it. If we come to the an example, we can have, for example, 2 molecules of water. We have 2 molecules of water. It decompose or break down. The bonds which are made in the elements of the water, it breaks down. While it breaks down, or this compound decompose, so it gives us the elements that made this molecule. It gives us the elements that made this molecule. This molecule of water, or this compound of water, is made of 2 elements, oxygen and hydrogen. So when this molecule breaks down, so it gives us that elements which this molecule is made of. So after the decomposition of this molecule, it gives us 2 molecular hydrogen plus 1 molecular oxygen. The process in which the bonds between the elements of this molecule breaks down and gave us the elements that made it up is called the decomposition reaction or the decomposition process. We can have another example of it. For example, we can have a complex compound like, for example, calcium carbonate. While calcium carbonate decompose, or the bonds between them breaks down, so it can give us 2 simple compounds. As it is a complex compound, while it decomposes or breaks the bonds between their molecules, so it gives us 2 simple compounds. Like, for example, we can have calcium oxide from it. We can have calcium oxide from it plus carbon dioxide. Now, while this complex compound breaks down, so it gave us the 2 simple compounds. The process in which a complex compound breaks down into simple compounds, or a molecule breaks down into the elements that made it up, is called the decomposition process or the decomposition reaction. We can have a formula for it too. For example, the AB compound, complex compound, breaks down to the A plus B simple compounds. or the A, B molecule of a simple compounds breaks into the A element plus B element, or A molecule plus B molecule. The process is called decomposition reaction or decomposition process. Come to the third type of the reactions. The third type of the reactions were combustion reaction. What is a combustion reaction, and how can we define it, and how can we use it? If we come to a combustion reaction, we can say that a combustion reaction is a compound containing carbon. Notice the elements: a compound containing carbon, right, and hydrogen, right, plus sometimes oxygen, not always. Sometimes oxygen combines with oxygen gas. Combines with what? With who? With oxygen gas. Oxygen gas. To produce carbon dioxide. To produce what? To produce carbon dioxide plus water. While a compound containing carbon, hydrogen, or sometimes oxygen combines with oxygen gas and gives us the carbon dioxide and water. The reaction is called combustion reaction. For example, we can have an example for it too. The example can be a gas which is natural gas CH4. This is a gas. While this gas reacts with oxygen gas, right? While this gas reacts with oxygen gas, so it can give us carbon dioxide plus water plus energy in the form of heat. This reaction, in which a compound that contains carbon plus hydrogen reacted with the oxygen and gave us carbon dioxide plus water plus energy in the form of heat. This reaction is called combustion reaction. Let's have another example of it. We can have another gas which contains carbon and hydrogen. Another gas can be a gas which contains 3 carbons and 8 hydrogen. The gas is called the propane gas. This propane gas reacts with oxygen. It reacts with who? With oxygen, right? It reacts with oxygen gas. After the reaction with oxygen gas, it gives us carbon dioxide plus water. Plus what? Plus water. This reaction, in which a gas reacts with oxygen in the product, is carbon dioxide plus water. The reaction is called combustion reaction. Look, one thing which is more important, that balancing an equation or balancing of equations are the most important thing in chemistry. But here, these all equations were not balanced. You just focus on the chemical reactions here. Later we will discuss on the balancing of equations too. Now you just focus on the chemical reactions. Do not focus on the balancing of the equations, right? Secondly, we can have the another example. For example, here, if we come to the another example, we can have another element, another compound that contains oxygen too, like alcohol. In alcohol, another type of alcohol, for example, I can have a type of alcohol which contains 2 carbons and 5 hydrogens in alcohol group. This is a compound which contains 2 carbons, 5 hydrogens in one group of what? Alcohol. While this compound, which have oxygen too, reacts with oxygen gas, it also gives us carbon dioxide plus water. This reaction is also called combustion reaction. We can have a formula for it too. Let's put it in a formula. The formula can be like carbon X, hydrogen Y, and oxygen Z plus oxygen, molecular oxygen or oxygen gas right? Reacts and gives us carbon dioxide plus water. Here in this formula, Cx means that X here means that the number of carbons. In X we can have the number of carbons, and Y means the number of hydrogens, and this Z means, I put it in brackets because I told you that sometimes we can have oxygen and sometimes oxygen, right? And sometimes there is no oxygen, like in these examples. Look, in first example, we don't have oxygen with the compound, right? The compound just contains carbon and hydrogen. In the second example, or in the second compound, there is also just carbon and hydrogen. But in third one, we have oxygen and hydrogens and carbons. So therefore, I put it in bracket because sometimes we can have it and sometimes there is no oxygen in the compound, right? So Z is the number of the oxygens, right? While these reacts with who? With the oxygen, so it gives us two kind of products, carbon dioxide plus water. This reaction is called combustion reaction. Come to the fourth type of the reaction. The fourth type of reaction, we can say that this is single replacement reaction. What does a single replacement reaction mean and how does it work? In single replacement reaction, one element that starts out by itself, it means an element come along and replace another element in a compound and kicking it out. How? One element that starts out by itself, it means that an element comes alone, and it reacts with a compound. From that compound, the element takes place of another element and kick that element out from the compound. This is called single replacement reaction. Come to the example of it. If we come to the example of it, example can be ferrium. Ferrium comes and reacts with a compound. Here, ferrium is an element which came by itself. It means that it is alone. It is alone. It comes by itself and reacts with a compound CuCl2, copper chloride. In this reaction, what happened? In this reaction, ferrium come and take the ferrium is going to take the place of the copper. It came along and is going to take the place of the copper in this compound. And the copper in it kick the copper out from the compound. This is called single replacement reaction. How? Ferrium come here and reacts with the chlorine instead of the copper. So, and it kick the copper out from the compound. In result, we can have copper alone because the ferrium kicked it out. And a new compound is made, ferrium chloride. What? Ferrium chloride. This is called a single replacement reaction. In a single replacement reaction, one element comes by itself or alone and reacts with a compound. In that compound, it takes the place of one element and kick that element out of the compound. This reaction is called single replacement reaction. Let's have another example of it. Another example of it can be copper in solid states comes and reacts with silver nitrate. With who? With silver nitrate. When copper reacts with silver nitrate, so the copper comes and take the place of the silver. The copper comes and take the place of the silver and kick the silver out from the compound. How? While the copper comes and reacts with the nitrate group instead of the silver, so it become a new compound, and the new compound is copper nitrate. The new compound is the copper nitrate, right? Plus the copper nitrate plus the silver is now alone, so we can have silver alone. This reaction is called single replacement reaction, right? So we can have a formula for it. The formula can be while the A elements come by itself, so it reacts with a compound. From that compound, A takes the place of one element and make a new compound like B. It kicked B out from the compound and reacts with the C, and the compound is now called AC. This is new compound, and from that new compound, the A came and kicked the B out from the compound. This reaction is called the single replacement reaction. Come to the third one, double replacement reaction. What is a double replacement reaction? We can say that double replacement reaction, the positive and negative ions in two compounds are doing nothing else, just switching their places. Look, in every compound, we have 2 points. Not 2 points, 2 parts. Positive ions and negative ions. This is the two main part of a compound. Positive ions, negative ions. So in double replacement reaction, two compounds react with each other and switch their negative and positive ion. Just switch the places of their negative and positive ion. And result, we have two different compounds, two new compounds. In that compounds, two elements or two ions just switch their places. They just switch their places. How? We can show it in an example. Example is barium chloride. Here, barium chloride in aqueous states reacts with the sodium sulfate. Right? Here, let me show you the positive and negative ion of this compound and this compound. In this compound, barium is a positive ion. Barium is what? A positive ion, and the chlorine is the negative one. The chlorine is what? The chlorine is the negative one. And in this part, in this compound, the sodium is the positive ion. The sodium is the positive ion, and the sulfate is the negative one. Right? While these two compounds react with each other, so it switches the places of their negative and positive ions. How? The barium came and take the place of the sodium. The barium came and take the place of the sodium. And a new compound is made. A new compound is made by the name of barium sulfate. Barium sulfate, right? Plus, while barium came and took the place of the sodium. So now sodium and chlorine are alone. They both are alone, so they both comes together and take the places of each other and make a new compound. It's called sodium chloride. This is called the double replacement reaction. In double replacement reaction, just two compounds switch their negative and positive ions places. Nothing else. This is called double replacement reaction. Come to the formula of the double replacement reaction. AB compound comes and reacts with the CD1, right? Here, A is what? A is the positive one, B is the negative one. Here, C is the positive one and D is the negative one, right? In this reaction, the A comes and take the place of the C. Take the place of the C and make a new compound by the name of the AD plus. B comes and take the place of the D because D is gone. D is gone with the A, right? So here it make another compound by the name of BC. This is called double replacement reaction. These were the four main types of chemical reaction. The first one, synthesis reaction. A plus B gives us AB. Decomposition reaction, AB gives us A plus B. In combustion, CXHY or sometimes OZ reacts with oxygen and gives us carbon dioxide plus water. And the fourth one is single replacement reaction. A plus BC gives us B plus AC. In double replacement reaction, AB plus CD gives us AD plus BC. These were the four main types of chemical reactions. Thanks for watching.